What is going on, YouTube? My name is Nick, and I am back here today with episode 7 of the Good Schmidt podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be recapping the AFC and NFC Championship games and giving a preview of this Sunday's Super Bowl, which will be Super Bowl 54. I will begin with the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs AFC Championship game, in which the Chiefs won 35-24. Let's take a look at the scoring drives here to see how these teams scored all these points. So I'm going to start off with, the game started off with a field goal on the opening drive for the Titans. It's a 30-yarder. And then a punt by KC. And then then Tennessee scoring a touchdown on a direct snap play to Derrick Henry. That was a pretty cool play. Ended up being a 9-play, 48-yard drive. And then the Chiefs did finally have an answer for the Titans. Patrick Mahomes with the 8-yard touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill to make it 10-7. And then the Titans answered right back with a Ryan Tannehill 1-yard touchdown pass to Kelly. And then the second quarter, Patrick Mahomes threw another touchdown pass to Tyreek Hill. This time it was a 20-yarder. Kansas City cut the Titan lead to 3. And then the Chiefs would eventually go ahead and take the lead with a Patrick Mahomes 27-yard touchdown run. And at the end of the half, the score would remain at 21-7 Chiefs. And then in the third quarter, we had a couple of punts. Kansas City again would score a touchdown, this time a 3-yard rush by Damian Williams. And then the Titans again would score another touchdown. This time it was a 60-yard bomb to Sammy Watkins. And the Titans would have one more answer, but that would pretty much do it. They would turn it over on downs, and that'd be the end of the game. Let's take a look here at the player stats, starting with Tennessee. As they played well, they just did not have enough in this game to win. Ryan Tannehill did have to throw 21 completions on 31, and he did have to throw it 31 times, completing 21 passes for 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was close to throwing an interception, but it did end up getting overturned. And then Brett Kern had a fake punt completion there to keep a drive alive. I think that ended up being their last touchdown on that drive. That drive ended up being their last touchdown of the game. Derrick Henry, not as impressive this game. The Chiefs did a solid job on him, holding him to only 69 yards on the ground. And Tannehill only rushed for 11 yards. Leading receiver for the Titans was Corey Davis with 5 receptions for 65 yards. A.J. Brown had 3 catches for 51, and then Jonnu Smith also had 3 catches, but for 38 yards. And then Anthony Fursker had a 22-yard touchdown. And also Dennis Kelly had that 1-yard touchdown as well. Leading tackler was Logan Ryan for the Titans with 6, and Camila Correa also had 6 and a sack. As for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes was 23 for 35, 394 yards and 3 tutties. Mahomes also rushed for 53 yards and a touchdown on 8 carries. And then Damian Williams added 45 yards on 17 carries and his touchdown. And then a couple of reverse jet sweep plays. Sammy Watkins was actually the Chiefs' leading receiver with 7 catches for 114 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill added 2 touchdowns with his 5 catches, along with his 67 yards total receiving on 5 receptions. Damian Williams also had 5 catches for 44 yards. And then Mahomes did fumble this game, but they didn't lose the fumble. A varying amount of a lot of pat downs. And then the leading tackler for the Chiefs is the Honey Badger himself, Tyrann Mathieu, with 6. He also had a TFL. Daniel Sorensen and Damian Wilson also had 6 tackles for the Chiefs. As for the overall team stats, probably should have started with these. Kansas City out, but you know what, I'm going to just end with the team stats. Why not? Kansas City had 404 total yards of offense to Tennessee's 295. Passing yards, the Chiefs had the edge with 292 to 210. Jeez. And then rushing yards, Kansas City actually rushed for 112. A bit surprising because Andy Reid likes to throw the ball. And then only 85 for Tennessee. That was also quite surprising. So props to the Chiefs defense. Average yards per play, pretty close with Kansas City again with the edge there. And then no fumbles, no interceptions, no turnovers to speak of. 3 sacks allowed by the Titans to KC's 2. And then third down efficiency, much more efficient for Kansas City at 60%. Titans did control the clock, but not by much. And then there is penalties. So my overall thoughts on this game were this is a very competitive game, but the Titans kind of let their foot off the gas there in the third quarter. Kansas City did not. They kept the pedal to the metal. Sorry about that notification. There's Richard Sherman spouting off. But anyways, back to the AFC Championship game. Kansas City just kept their foot on the pedal. They ran the ball a little bit more, which did pay off. Patrick Mahomes did his thing. The receivers all did their thing. Somebody else had a big game besides Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in Sammy Watkins, so that was huge for them. Ultimately, I want to congratulate the Chiefs. This is the first time they're in the Super Bowl since 1969, and they ended up winning that season. That was Super Bowl 4, and that's their only Super Bowl title, as they would lose Super Bowl 1 to the Green Bay Packers. So this is their first Super Bowl appearance in 40 years. Not 40 years, 50 years. That's crazy, so congrats to them. The fans were really great in that game. They deserve it. They're bringing the Lamar Hunt Trophy back to Kansas City. He was the legendary. He's the legendary owner of the Chiefs, I believe. So yeah, they named the AFC Championship Trophy after him, and the Chiefs are bringing it home. So good for them. Congrats. They're going to Miami. And for the final championship game, the NFC Championship game, we had the San Francisco 49ers completely taking it to the Green Bay Packers, 37-20. I'll go over the scoring, but it's very one-sided. San Francisco did pretty much dominated the entire game. Packers didn't do anything the first half, sadly, unfortunately. But yeah, the game started out with some punts. San Francisco then would get on the board on their second drive of the game, 11-play drive, with a Raheem Mostert 36-yard touchdown. There's going to be a lot of rushing yards in this game that I'm going to have to talk about. Jimmy G only had to throw 8 passes. We'll get to that. But yeah, then Robbie Gould hit a 54-yard field goal. That was a bomb. And then there's another Packers punt. Lost 11 yards. Gall darn San Francisco defense. And then Raheem Mostert with another touchdown, 17-0. And then the Packers had a drive going. They fumbled. Led to a San Francisco field goal. Then an interception led to a San Francisco touchdown. Again, guess who scored it? Raheem Mostert, 18-yard touchdown run. Then another punt. And the Packers finally did a thing on offense. They finally produced points. They got a touchdown in the third quarter. Aaron Rodgers to Aaron Jones. And then guess what? Another Raheem Mostert touchdown. Wow. 22-yard touchdown run, 34-7 San Fran. Then Aaron Jones answered with a touchdown run of his own, but it was pretty much too little too late. The Packers would add another touchdown, and so San Francisco would add another field goal, and then a pick by Richard Sherman would end the game and seal it for San Francisco. I really don't want to start with, I don't want to look at the Packers team stats yet. We'll look at the Packers player stats yet. Let's look at the overall stats and see that San Francisco completely dominated. The Packers did have a bunch of yards in garbage time, but that doesn't matter. I mean, look at these pass yards. You would think the Packers would be in this game, but no, look at the rushing yards. 285 to 62. And San Francisco continued to produce points on those. Average yards per play in favor of San Fran. Green Bay fumbled. Also Aaron Rodgers threw 2 picks. That's just terrible, man. 3 sacks allowed by the Pack. San Francisco was 40% efficient on third down to 33 to Green Bay. Not very good. Time of possession, the Packers actually had an advantage, but San Francisco just kept punching it in. And then penalties. 6 for the Packers. It was a rough one. It was a rough one as a Packers fan. This was rough for me. Let's see. A lot of these yards were garbage time for Aaron Rodgers, but he played pretty well in garbage. Overall, he played pretty well in the game. They just could not get on the board. Yeah, 2 picks for Rodgers. The first half didn't look so good. A lot of those, he padded his stats. Aaron Jones only rushed for 56 yards. Devontae Adams was your leading receiver with 138 yards on 9 receptions. Jake Coomer had a catch. That was a highlight for me, being a Whitewater student athlete. And then Aaron Rodgers fumbled it 3 times. One of them was not his fault necessarily because it was a botched snap. But yeah, a lot of this was on. Not a lot of this game was on him. It was on the whole team. They were getting crushed up front. Kevin King had a couple pat downs, made a couple nice plays. I guess that's nice. Blake Martinez had 6 tackles. Darnell Savage had 5. Only 1 sack to speak of by Kylo Fackrell. No field goals. There's punts. There's kickoff returns. Nothing special there. As for the Niners, who completely dominated on the ground, Jimmy G only had to throw 6 completions for 77 yards. Raheem Mostert rushed for 229 yards on 29 carries, 4 touchdowns, and he averaged nearly 8 yards a carry. Deebo Samuel also had a couple big runs. Tevin Coleman did end up getting injured in the third quarter in this game. Hope he's all right. They're going to need him for the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. They may need him. And then for receiving, Deebo Samuel led the way with 46 yards on 2 catches. A forced fumble by K'Wan Williams and Eric Armstead. Buckner recovered a fumble. And then Richard Sherman and Emmanuel Mosley had a couple of had an interception apiece. And K'Wan Williams had 7 tackles to lead the way for the Niners, a sack and a TFL. Jaquiz Tart with 5. And then as for the other sacks, Eric Armstead had 1, and Nick Bosa also had 1. Robbie Gould hit on all his field goals and extra points. And there is special teams, all that. And yeah, that is that. Pretty much, San Francisco just dominated on the ground. The Packers had no answers to stop Raheem Mostert, and that was that. They couldn't get anything going on offense in the first quarter. I was saying during the game, this game was like watching nails on a chalkboard until garbage time. It was rough for the Packers, but for San Francisco, they just exploded on the ground. Good for them. They're going to Miami to play at Kansas City in Super Bowl 54. There's not much else I can really say about this game besides props to San Francisco's ground game and their defense for shutting down the Packers' offense. They shut them down completely in the first half, and they didn't allow them to come back in the second half. So good for the Niners. Congrats, props. I'm done with this game. Let's move on to the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl 54 is going to feature the Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers down in Miami, Florida. Before I start talking about some keys to the game, let's take a look at a little bit of Super Bowl history here for both teams. For the Kansas City Chiefs, this is their first Super Bowl appearance since way back in the 1969-1970 season. That was Super Bowl 4. The Chiefs did actually end up winning the championship. They upset the Vikings 23-7. They had their fierce purple people eater defense, and the Chiefs were actually 13-point underdogs, and they were able to win that Super Bowl for their only Super Bowl title to date. The only other time they appeared in a Super Bowl was the very first one, where they lost 35-10 to the Packers, and that was in 1966. Something else to note is this is Andy Reid's second Super Bowl coaching. Previously, it was with the Eagles in Super Bowl 39, which was the 2004-2005 season. The Eagles would end up losing to the Patriots 24-21. So this gives Andy Reid a second chance at possibly winning a Super Bowl. For the 49ers, they've been in quite a few Super Bowls. They have won 5 Super Bowl titles overall in their franchise's history. Most of them coming in the 80s, 1982, 1985, and 1989. They also won 2 Super Bowls in in the 90s, 1990 and 1995. And they have appeared in 7 Super Bowls in total. Their last being a defeat in Super Bowl 47 to the Ravens, 34-31. That was the 2012-13 season. I believe I mentioned that. I had mentioned that in my playoff predictions video. And then something else to note is this is Kyle Shanahan's return to the big game after being the offensive coordinator for the Falcons, and they blew that 28-3 lead against the Patriots. Don't want to get into that. Let's move on to the keys for Super Bowl 54. Starting with the Chiefs, they need to keep the 49ers honest with the rush, I feel like. Patrick Mahomes can run the ball. He's dangerous as a runner. Maybe they'll use Damian Williams a little bit more to keep the Niners honest, because the Chiefs are going to go pass heavy. Andy Reid does like to pass. And speaking of pass, Patrick Mahomes needs to play like his MVP self in order for the Chiefs to win this game. This offense runs through him, and he's going to have to make plays. Get it to his skill players in Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins. And then a key for the Chiefs defense is to slow down the San Francisco 49er rushing attack. They can't let Raheem Mostert go off like he did against the Packers. So they got to figure out how to at least slow it down a little bit. For the 49ers, keep pounding the ball. Eventually it will work for them. It definitely did in the Packers game. If they want to win, this team starts with the run. They need to run it with all 3 of their running backs. Not sure if Coleman's going to be healthy, but they still have 2 other solid backs to go to. Once again, I've said it every preview to every playoff game for the 49ers. Pass rush is key. They gotta get to the quarterback, or at least affect Patrick Mahomes in some way, make him get rid of the ball. That will be huge for the 49ers. Their defense is their strong suit of this team, for sure. That on the even more so than the running game. So pass rush again, key for this game. And then the final key for the 49ers will be Jimmy G having to make some big throws. I'm not saying 50-yard bombs, but 10, 20-yard throws down the field to his receivers. For example, to Emmanuel Sanders. He'll be key. What was I gonna say? Yeah, and Deebo Samuel will need to make some plays as well. And maybe even Kyle Juszczyk will get some plays down the field. We'll see. There might be some surprising plays pulled out of the hat for the 49ers to try to trick the Chiefs. The Chiefs, not the Chiefs. Whoops. The 49ers might pull out some trick plays. We'll see. My overall thoughts on the Super Bowl, just to wrap up this preview, is I think this is going to be a fantastic Super Bowl. You've got one run-heavy team versus a pass-heavy team on offense, and you've got an average defense versus a super strong pass rush. So a lot of interesting matchups on both sides of the ball to look out for. I think the big one will be Tyreek Hill and the Honey Badger if he's covering him. That could potentially be a fun matchup to watch. I'm really looking forward to this Super Bowl. I hope you all are too. I'm fumbling around my words. That'll about do it. Hope you all tune into the Super Bowl, enjoy it, watch the halftime show and the commercials too. Those are always fun. And that's gonna wrap it up, like I just said. Once again, my name is Nick, and this is the Good Schmidt podcast, and I am signing out.